Hello, church. This is Pastor Fred. You know, as we continue to face whatever's going to happen with COVID-19, I just wanted to give you another word of encouragement to kind of help you through your week. I wanted to read to you this Bible story from Matthew chapter 14. It's a story that's really helped me through some tough times in my past. But it says in chapter 14, verse 22, it says, "Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. And when evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it." Now, first of all, why in the world did they get in a boat and head out across when there was a storm coming? I mean, maybe they didn't know the storm was coming. I hear that storms are pretty unpredictable on the Sea of Galilee, but still, why did they get in the boat in the first place? Because in verse 22 it says Jesus made them get in the boat. What? I mean, did Jesus not know there was a storm that was coming? Oh, I think he knew exactly what was coming, and I think he wanted them to be in the boat out in the middle of it. Why would he do that? I don't know. Scripture doesn't say, and God doesn't often tell me why he does the different things that he does. Here is what I know. Number one, God's in control. Number two, absolutely nothing happens in our lives, good, bad, or ugly, outside of the design and the plan of God. Now, that doesn't mean that we're a bunch of robots. It doesn't mean that God is the author of evil, but it does mean that he's coordinating absolutely every minute detail of the universe. He's coordinating every minute detail of my personal life, all my decisions, all my actions, everything that's going to happen to me. He's working it all together, coordinating it according to his plan and his design. Nothing happens unless he says so, and he doesn't say so unless he knows it's good. It'll give him glory, and it's for my good, because I love him. I mean, maybe Jesus had the disciples in there because every once in a while he just likes us to experience these things where we realize we are not in control. We cannot manipulate our circumstances so that we'll look to him and he has a chance to show his work. I don't know. That's a possibility, but truthfully the Bible just doesn't say. Let's keep going. During the fourth watch in the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Now, the reason I laugh is because I'm remembering the way a good buddy of mine, Ross Hendrickson, the way he pointed out something interesting about this story. Many of you know this about me, but after college, I traveled for 3 years with Ross. We were part of a comedy evangelism team called the Wright Brothers, also known as Ross and the Other Guy. I say that because everywhere we went, "Ross, you're so funny, you're so amazing, I wish I could be like you, let me kiss your feet." and Fred, you're that other guy, right? I mean, weren't you up there too? And I'm like, yes, that's me, I'm the other guy. It was pitiful, and I was totally fine with that. You know, I just happy to be along for the ride and excited to be on the stage. I didn't care about me being the other guy. But anyways, Ross was also a very good teacher, and he taught me something in this story using the Gospel of Mark. Now see, because in the Gospel of Mark, it says that Jesus walked on the water as if to pass by them. What? Jesus, aren't you like running to the rescue? I mean, aren't you coming to them and say, "Hey, here am I. Do not be afraid. I'm going to fix everything"? What do you mean you're walking on the water as if to pass by them? I mean, why would you do that? And the way that Ross described the story is just funny. I mean, here all the waves, the wind is blowing, the waves are crashing, the boat's like getting filled with water, and the disciples are like bailing, and they're screaming, "Ah, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna..." Hey, we're over here. And Jesus is like, "Oh yeah, I'm just out on a stroll. Hey, how you doing?" What is that about? I don't know, but it doesn't really have anything to do with what I wanted to talk to you about. That was for free. And so look at what happens next though. Verse 27, "But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid.' 'Lord, if it's you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come to you on the water.' "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Now, hopefully, you already know the main message that you often hear when you hear this story taught. And I really do think it's like the main point of why the story is in there. And it's a good one. I mean, I've taught this message myself. But when you're in trouble, where is your focus? I mean, Peter, just as soon as he started looking at all the scary stuff, when he started looking at the waves and listening to the wind, and he got his eyes off of Jesus, he got into trouble. When you're in trouble, when you're scared, when your life is out of control, what are you focusing on? Don't focus on the wind. Don't focus on the waves. Don't keep watching the news on TV and how scary everything is, coming from people that really don't know what's going on much more than we do. Keep your eyes on Jesus. I mean, that's the main huge part of the passage. But there's other points of encouragement that I want to be sure that you pick up on too. First of all, I want you to know what a great and gracious and merciful God we serve if we're a believer. Have you ever tried to walk on the water? You know, you're a little kid, you're standing on the side of the pool, and you're like, if I run really fast, I wonder how many steps I can make it on the water before I sink. Have you ever tried that? You know, I was one of those kids. I was curious. You know how many steps I made it? 1. You know, just as soon as I stepped off the edge, I mean, the water's over my head. But here, what happened to Peter? Did you see this? It says it in verse, whatever that verse was, verse 30. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink. Beginning to sink. Did you see that? He's like, what's going on? Why did Jesus give him the power to just begin to sink instead of like me at the swimming pool to where I'm immediately under the water? Why is he slowly sinking into the Sea of Galilee? Was Jesus giving him a chance to plug his nose? No. Jesus was giving him a chance to call out for help. And that's my first word of encouragement to you. You know, when you're in trouble, what does God do? Does he just say, "That's what you get for taking your eyes off me"? And you try doing things your own way. You think you're so smart. You think you're so big and bad. You cast me off to the side. Fine. See how that works for you. I'm done with you. Off with you. And all of a sudden, you're over your head and you're drowning. Is that the way it happens? Not usually. Usually what God does is He gives you the ability to begin to sink. I mean, slowly, things start getting kind of bad, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here? I'm sick. Help!" God is a merciful, gracious God. Have your eyes got off of Him? Do things just seem to be crashing around your head? Are you beginning to sink? Well, He's ready for you to call out to Him. Which leads us to the second word of encouragement. Did you see Jesus' response when Peter called out to Him? Did He just stand over Peter? It's like, "That's what you get, Pete. I mean, why in the... you are just such a disappointment to me. I mean, here I picked you to be one of the 12 people that I was going to use to completely flip the world on its head, and you can't even do one little miracle by keeping your eyes on me. I mean, immediately, you're just blowing it. You're blowing it, Pete. You're just always causing me just such heartache. So no, I'm just going to sit here and let you suffer a little bit so that you can realize how much you need me, and maybe next time you won't treat me or take me so much for granted." Is that what He didn't know? Immediately, He grabbed Peter's hand. I mean, Matthew was very specific in his language. Immediately, He grabbed Peter's hand just as soon as Peter called out for help. Are you in trouble? Are you beginning to sink? Call out for help, and God isn't up there saying, "Well, you should have never done that in the first place. I'm just not going to help you because you keep doing the same dumb things over and over and over and over again. You're such a disappointment to me." No, He's eager to run to our rescue. He wants us to know that He's our source of help. And so He's right there immediately ready to come to our rescue and grab our hand. Those are the encouragements. Here's the challenge. How many times did Peter walk on the water? Did you catch this? Twice. I don't know how many steps he took to get out towards Jesus, but whenever Jesus grabbed him by the hand, it's not like he clicked his fingers and clicked his heels together and immediately they were in the boat and the water was still. Jesus just grabbed his hand, and however far Peter went out, he also had to go back. Except that now he was able to do it because Jesus had him by the hand. Is that how you want Jesus to rescue you? It's not how I want him to rescue me. When I call out for help, do you know what I want Jesus to do? I want him to immediately make all the wind and the waves go away. I want him to immediately make it to where I just don't have to be scared anymore and everything's just calm and nice and peaceful again. But that's often not the way he works it. Oftentimes, the way he works it is, I'm sorry, Fred, I'm not taking you out of the situation. You still got to keep moving forward. It's still going to be tough, but don't worry. Now, we can do this together, and I got you by the hand. Are you going through difficulty? Maybe you think that God isn't hearing your prayers because you're still in trouble. He didn't promise you to get you out of trouble. What he promised is, I'm going to be with you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will be with you even to the end of the age, and we can be encouraged by that. Last thing. It's interesting that if you read the book of Mark, most Bible scholars, they think, Mark wasn't one of the 12 disciples. And so how did he know this as if he was seeing an eyewitness account? Well, most Bible scholars say that he was probably interviewing Peter to get his information for the book of Mark. And so what's interesting when you read Mark is you don't read anything about Peter walking on water. Why is that? Was he worried about being braggy? I walked on water. The other disciples, they were staying in the boat because they were, even though the boat was sinking, they thought that would be better than being out with Jesus. But me, I knew it would be better to do the impossible with Jesus than being in a sinking boat. I was just amazing and they were dumb. And was that why he left it out? Maybe he left it out because he was embarrassed. Oh my word, and just out there for everybody to see what an idiot I was again. And probably that wasn't it, because he showed a lot of other stories where he really didn't look very good. I don't know why he didn't tell Mark about walking on the water. But here's what's interesting. Matthew noticed it. Matthew wrote it down in his account so that we can read it later. Here's the last encouragement. When you go through trouble and you're wondering, why am I going through this? Sometimes it has very little to do with you. I'm sure God's teaching you a lesson too, but oftentimes what he's doing when he's bringing you through things is not just because of you. It's because of the people who are watching you. Maybe it's not even going to be until years later to where they're remembering what happened in your life. And they're like, did you see what Jesus did when Fred was going through that? Jesus is awesome. So when you're going through something, it just doesn't seem to make sense. Don't be discouraged. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. God knows what he's doing. But maybe he's doing it for the sake of the other people around you, showing himself in your situation for them. I miss you, church. God bless you. Just this week, remember, God's got you right in the palm of your hand, and he knows what he's doing. Have a great day.